I've got a really good friend who's one of my oldest friends on the planet. I think he's in this room now. Although he's an elusive man, so he may or may not be, but we explored a lot of different religions and a lot of philosophies, and not that we followed any of them, but we read them and we talked about them for years. Politics and philosophy, religion. And when all his buddies were going off to college, one day he decided he was going to go out to a monastery in the middle of the desert or something in Arizona, you know. And he was going to study with monks. And yeah, it was a really cool thing when he did that. And he did that for a while. And I remember getting a call from him saying, hey man, you know, basically something to the extent of, I've never told this story with him in the room, but I tell it all over the country. It was something like, I'm not quite free enough living with monks in the middle of the desert, so I'm going down to South Mexico or something. Which was one of the greatest things I ever heard, you know. So, and then he was down in Mexico for a while, and I remember hearing from him, and he was just talking about a whole new level of peace. And it was a cool conversation. It was cool to hear that my old friend had found that level of peace. And I thought, oh man, it takes going to Mexico. First it takes going to Arizona and living with monks, and then from there you go to Mexico. And I can't do that. So I started thinking of other ways to that peace. And I thought of all the paths that one could go down to try and find that. He ended up on a bunch of acreage in Kentucky, which is great because that's sort of the natural progression then. You live with monks in Arizona, you go down to Mexico for a while, and then you get your slice of heaven in Kentucky. And you just do with that land what you will. So, and then you brave the snow to come up and hang out with your old buddy and hear a crazy story like that. But that's what made me write this song. God built me a house up on top of a hill with a tower that touches the clouds. Burn my money, burn my will, and scatter the ashes around. With windows high on either side, I'll spend my days looking out. And I judge the deeds of all this world, and just watch as it burns to the ground, all together now. All together. Drive me a truck with 36 wheels, straight gilded from stern to